I want to thank, first of all, Nakata-san for chairing the session, the organizers, particularly Vicki, for tracking me down and inviting me to this week. This has been a great opportunity for me to learn a lot about an area that I don't know a lot about, which is lubricants. And so this is a fantastic forum for me. I have been involved in fuels development and fuels industry for a number of years. And today what I want to talk to you about is what we've been working on, which are biofuel solutions or alternative energy solutions, which are drop-ins for existing diesel and jet fuel, which exist in the markets today. So I'm going to spend a fair bit of time talking about things like the processes that we have in the marketplace today, both some of the Fischer-Tropsch types processes as well as some of the other more emerging processes which are a little further behind in certification but are moving. Why do we care about the biofuels? The biofuels in particular and renewable energy in general, I think are driven really by three main drivers, and the importance of these drivers geographically differs from nation to nation and from region to region. So the three main drivers I think we can agree on are rural development. Creating jobs in rural economies is essential to take the pressure off of the urbanization which is occurring in emerging countries. As more and more people move to urban centers, more and more damage occurs to the environment and more load occurs in terms of the resources necessary in order to support those people. Energy security and independence, as Nakata-san mentioned at the beginning, energy security and security of supply is very, very important. We only need to look at the events of the last 30 days to understand what that can do and how important even a 1 or a 2% change in the supply of feedstock can make to oil prices and to the shock that can create to our economies. And finally, the environment. Sui-Chen also did a good job of setting up the key for us in environmental, which is reducing CO2 emissions, reducing the potential for anthropogenic CO2 emissions and global warming. And as a response to this, you can see some of the demands that the nations of the world have placed on us in the lower left of this slide, which shows the various demands in biofuel usage that exist in Brazil, China, Europe, India, and the list goes on. There's probably about 150 different standards in about 150 different countries. And part of the challenge is knowing how to meet those standards in the most economically attractive fashion. Other than just the biofuels market in general, I'm also going to talk about sustainable aviation fuels. And one of the questions is why sustainable aviation fuels? Aviation is such a small portion of the overall consumption, and aviation kerosene is such an overall small fraction of what's consumed. But really it's driven by what you see here in this chart, which is the industry as a whole, the aviation industry as a whole, has come out and said that by 2050 they want to have a carbon neutral growth scenario. They want to have a 50% reduction in the amount of greenhouse gases, and they want to be at carbon neutral growth by the year 2020. What that means is as they add passenger miles, they want to be able to make sure that those passenger miles come at no additional load of CO2 emitted into the environment. But this slide just first shows you here, in fact, are the properties that one can make. The Jet A1 specifications are in the center column. And you see the flash point and the freeze point are the critical characteristics. And you see that either Jatropha, camelina, or a mixture of Jatropha and algal oils can all be refined to meet the flash point and freeze point characteristics. In fact, we can meet all of the characteristics required for aviation kerosene, Jet A1. We can also meet some of the military specifications as well as needed. In 2010 alone, we've produced 600,000 gallons of this fuel. And you might not know where a lot of this has gone, but it has gone for a number of completed flight demonstrations. This is a listing of 5 completed flight demonstrations that have been done on commercial aircraft. Air New Zealand, Continental Airlines, JAL, KLM, and TAM in Brazil recently have all completed flights. And it's interesting to note that on these we were using 4 of the major OEMs, engine OEMs in the aviation industry. So Rolls-Royce engines, CFM engines, Pratt & Whitney, and General Electric. In addition to the commercial drive for this, in the United States, there has been very substantial drive from the U.S. military for the energy security issues. And here are listed a series of tests. We've had a number more which have been done. The FA-18 Green Hornet, which you see in the upper right-hand corner, that plane actually has been flying on biofuels daily since April 22nd of last year. It will continue that process of daily flights on biofuels for the next 7 months. And this summer, it will be touring the United States to celebrate the 100th centennial of naval aviation in the United States, and will be flown around the U.S. at a variety of different air shows. We've tested, as you can see, fixed-wing aircraft, the helicopters, and also we've done a lot of work now with marine diesel fuels as well to be able to generate diesel fuel for the U.S. Navy. So this is really rapidly gaining adoption and really rapidly moving forward. The challenge now is moving these fuels from the testing stage into the commercialized stage, which I'll address on the final slide. But before we start, the important aspect of why we do this in terms of the environment can't be lost, and this is what this slide shows. First, in the upper left-hand slide is the cumulative quantity of energy required in terms of the energy input in order to get an amount of energy output for aviation kerosene and for jet fuel derived from a variety of different substances. With that, I just wanted to summarize and thank you again for your attention and time and say that this is real. These are fuels which are real and they're here today. The challenge is in feedstock availability. If the feedstock, these raw oils, these triglyceride materials are readily available, one of the best and highest uses of them will be to be able to turn them into transportation fuels. And we feel very confident and are very confident that our technology can assist with making that a reality. So thanks again for your attention.